Hello, everybody. Welcome again to another edition of BadgerBlitz TV. I am Jake Kocorowski, senior writer at BadgerBlitz.com. Of course, your home for all things Wisconsin Badgers athletics, football, recruiting, basketball. Excited, of course, Wisconsin, Purdue, number 25, Purdue. Wisconsin hopes to make it 15 in a row and again continue Purdue's long losing streak to the Badgers. So we have some fun today. Real quick going through, we have my editor, the recruiting analyst, John McNamara, join us in just a second, but just to kind of give quick lowdown of what to expect tomorrow. Of course, 2 p.m. Central Time, kickoff from Ross-Ade Stadium in West Lafayette, Indiana. It's going to be on Big Ten Network. You can listen on the Badger Radio Network if you can't listen via or you can't watch via TV. And you have Matt LePay and Mike Lucas on the call there on the radio. Some quick Purdue stats. We talked with this with Tom Dienhart, so I won't go through all of them, but for those that are watching right now, you can see some of the stats. Of course, they're second in the Big Ten, 10th in the nation in passing yards per game at over 334 per contest. Almost 46% on third down conversions. Time of possession, they're almost 33 minutes, so they're fourth in the Big Ten. They have allowed 15 sacks. And of course, the big names, Aidan O'Connell, quarterback, has had back-to-back 370-yard plus performances the past 2 games. David Bell, the first-team All-Big Ten wide receiver, will be someone that Wisconsin's secondary will need to contain, and we'll get to that in a little bit. Defensively, only allow 14 points per game. That's impressive right there. 116.3 rushing yards per game allowed. That's going to be big. Passing yards a game allowed, just under 179 per contest. That's second in the Big Ten behind Wisconsin. And, 94 pressures credited by Pro Football Focus to that defense and led by George Karlaftis. And we talked about him ad nauseum this week on BadgerBlitz.com. But without further ado, let's get into some of this game. We got John McNamara here from BadgerBlitz.com. And John, this is a game where I felt like in 2018, Wisconsin had a chance to lose against Purdue, and they almost did. Came out with a 47-44 triple overtime victory, and thanks to some fourth quarter comebacks by one Jack Cohn and some one-handed grab by Danny Davis in that game, very Odell Beckham-like in that contest, and then the rushing game took over thereafter. But this is a game that Wisconsin very well could lose with the way it's playing offensively. Its defense should keep it in its game, but it's going to be quite the interesting contest against the ranked Boilermakers.
Yeah, especially after getting a chance to watch them against Iowa the previous week, right before Wisconsin got going against Army. So, obviously a big win for them. They're going to be at home. They're coming as a ranked opponent, so a lot of things are different when you're going against Purdue, it seems like. But again, like you talked about, Jake, I think the defense for Wisconsin is going to keep them in the game, and can the offense make enough plays to put Wisconsin on top? So. You talk about George Karlaftis. Obviously, stopping him is going to be a key. David Bell on the other side of the ball. So this isn't your same Purdue team that you've seen for the last 14 times Wisconsin's beaten them in a row, whatever that number is. So should be a good game. I don't know. Right now, it's so tough to pick Wisconsin in a game like this on the road in the Big Ten after seeing what Purdue did last week against Iowa.
Absolutely. Now let's get into our keys of the game. We're going to start with the offense. John, what is your first one right now? It involves a very popular tight end, one possibly that is a relative of a famous former head coach and athletic director.
Correct. Wisconsin needs to get the pass game going, and Graham Mertz talked about that this week. I think that starts with Jake Ferguson at that tight end position. He was quieter against Illinois than you saw him in the first half against Army. And when Jake Ferguson can get open in that second level, I think it opens up things in the third level for Wisconsin. So, we'll see if Paul Chryst makes it a point to get Ferguson going to kind of get Graham Mertz in a rhythm. And then, like I said, that could potentially open things up a little bit deeper in the field for Danny Davis, Kendrick Pryor, Chimere Dike for Wisconsin. I just think they're going to have to pass the ball somewhat effectively if they want to win this game.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's something where Wisconsin's bottom third of the league in passer efficiency, passing yards per game. and whatnot. It's going to be, and for that matter, Purdue's defense. I think they're fifth in the FBS right now, third in the Big Ten in passer efficiency defense and whatnot. So it's going to be a tough challenge that they need to start getting something going. The plays have been open. We've seen that where even Graham Mertz mentioned right after the game on Saturday where he forced a throw into Danny Davis, but he had Jake Ferguson on the opposite side wide open. And we've seen the ability. They've tried to take deeper shots the past couple of games, especially against Illinois. Mertz hung up one that was intercepted that was intended for Kendrick Pryor. He also hung one up that was underthrown that was intended for Ferguson against the Fighting Illini a couple weeks back too. So they're taking the shots. Now it's just executing. We'll see. Obviously Ferguson's a big role in that third down target. For my offensive key, really, John, I'm looking at. You're talking about passing game. I think they definitely need to get that ground game rolling. I was initially put down in our pregame notes, to same thing along your lines of getting the passing game going. But I think with Purdue right now, you're looking at 116 yards allowed per contest. But I think they haven't seen anybody like Wisconsin's, rushing attack and whatnot, the power running. I think Ches Malusi, who's stepped up the past couple of weeks, especially Braylon Allen, probably even more than that, and just what he's done the past 2 weeks with 100-yard efforts. It's become the bread and butter. It's the one consistent thing for this offense at the moment. So I'm not saying if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But they need to pass. They need to create opportunities that way to keep defenses honest. But I also feel like they have to get Malusi and Allen going, because if it's going to be passing too repeatedly, George Karlaftis may be able to pin his ears back. There's Branson Dean too, who's also a standout defensive tackle that leads the team in sacks for Purdue. So that's going to be, to me, keeping that run game going and establishing at least something so they can throw in some play action and keep Purdue off key. That's going to be a key test there. But in your eyes, then, we're going to the defensive side of the ball. What's your key takeaway? What's your key to the game for Wisconsin's defense?
Yeah, capitalize on the turnover opportunities, which, if there is a knock on the defense, it might be that. You go back and you look at that Notre Dame game where Scott Nelson can potentially get an interception early. I'm not saying that changes the outcome of the game, but to give your team a chance to play with the lead, in a game like that would have been significant. Going on the road to Purdue, if there are those opportunities early, coupled with how much Wisconsin struggled on offense, you have to take advantage of those. So that would be what I'm looking for on the defense. When those opportunities do present itself, Wisconsin needs to capitalize for a number of different reasons.
Exactly. And then on my end, I think it's going to be, you talk about turnovers. I think this kind of goes hand in hand because you get pressure on the quarterbacks, and I think getting pressure on Aidan O'Connell will be huge for Wisconsin. Purdue allows 15 sacks per contest. Wisconsin has about, I think it was 86 pressures according to Pro Football Focus heading into this contest. And for that matter, they didn't get many opportunities against Army. And so for me, you've seen what Nick Herbig can do, Jack Sanborn, Leo Chanel, even Chanel. Granted, he was reading the snap counts essentially for Army this past weekend. I think Wisconsin, will have an opportunity to get some sacks. And talk about turnover possibilities. If there's a strip sack available, if there's an errant throw, getting pressure can lead to those type of opportunities there. So in my eyes, then, I guess for you, who is your Badger or Badgers? I think we have multiple ones based off of our notes to watch this weekend.
Yeah, I'm looking at Wisconsin's offensive tackles. Tyler Beach, Tanner Bortolini, if he plays in place of Logan Bruss, I think Bruss might be a game-time decision. Sounds like he was doing some work during the week. So, from those three guys, we're looking at them against George Karlaftis, who, one of the more disruptive players, certainly in the Big Ten, potentially in the country. Wisconsin fans got pretty familiar with his younger brother, Yanni Karlaftis, who Wisconsin recruited pretty hard coming out of high school. So, with the way that the offensive line, they've been playing better lately. But, if you have the way that they played – week 1, week 2, I shouldn't say week 2, but that Penn State game where, Tyler Beach, he really struggled against a test like Karlaftis. I think, that's a significant matchup to watch. So, whether Carl Aftis is lined up against Beach, or if it's Bortolini, or if it's Bruss, those guys have to really contain on the edge, or just limit him as much as possible if Wisconsin does want to have success throwing the football.
Absolutely. For me, on my end, I'm going to go Badgers to watch. Cornerbacks, Faion, Hicks, Caesar Williams. It's going to be a big matchup with David Bell. Not just David Bell, but the other Purdue receiving targets. There's Payne Durham, who is a tight end. There's Milton Wright, who had a big game against Wisconsin back in 2019. He, in terms of being part of a flea flicker, and then also being part of he was the one that hit the double pass, I think it was the double pass to Bryson Hopkins for a touchdown too. So, but it all goes with Bell, and 38 receptions, 679 yards, 4 touchdowns. Standout, all Big Ten wide receiver. Who's going to me, it's going to be really who's going to follow Bell. How are they going to defend the secondary, defend Bell and the receiving targets, and just can they keep up? Because again, the past 2 games, Wisconsin's allowed 386 and 326 yards passing in 2018 and 2019 respectively. So how does this team, in my eyes, just how does this defense defend against the passing attack? And it goes back to the pressure. Can they create pressure to Meg O'Connell and Jack Plummer and even Austin Burton off if those latter 2 need to pass? But they've been used. They were used last week for more of a rushing attack, so a little bit of a changeup compared to the more pocket passer O'Connell. So, John, game predictions. I know we'll have this up on BadgerBlitz.com coming up with our pre-snap read on early Saturday morning. But for now, a little bit of a preview. How do you see this game playing out in West Lafayette?
Yeah, like I said in the start, it's tough for me to pick Wisconsin. There's ways that you can talk yourself into them winning this game. Purdue's playing well. Do they have a letdown after probably a pretty emotional win over Iowa? I just think in the end, Purdue's going to be able to make a play or two in the fourth quarter that swings this contest. I'm going to go 21-13. The Boilermakers come away with this victory.
Yeah, I was talking to a couple others this week, and I'm picking Wisconsin, but I don't know. I don't want to say I don't know why, but the talent. I think the talent's there compared to Purdue. I think it's higher across the board. But right now we're also in a show me phase, right? We're in okay, passing game should be there. Show us. The offense overall it should be overall better. Show us. And for the defense, they have playmakers there. They need to show that they can create turnovers and also not allow deep passes. So in my eyes, I'm going to go, I think, I'll probably, right now I have 17-14 Wisconsin. I think turnovers are key. I think they had a breakthrough on, last weekend where Leo Chanel came in on that strip sack, created a huge sudden change play at the 1. Graham Mertz sneaks it in thereafter, and that's a game-deciding touchdown after Army drove down the field in unprecedented fashion with that deep pass. It was 77 yards in 7 plays there. But for right now, I think Wisconsin ekes it out. I think very well if there's turnovers there, if Mertz coughs up the ball again, or just overall if there are interceptions or fumbles, it could get ugly quick. But for that matter, Purdue doesn't create a lot of turnovers either. They had 4 against Iowa last week, but for the rest of the 5 games, they only had 2. So I think that'll play out. I think, I'll say 17-14 right now. I'm not exactly sure why, but I think the ground game gets going. They create some plays, some sudden change opportunities, and they go home there. But John, real quick before we let you go, what else is coming up on BadgerBlitz.com coming up this weekend? And, obviously, basketball is starting up, and then, National Signing Days, early signing periods, just a couple of months away now.
Yeah, appreciate you reminding me about that. We're getting close. Definitely getting close here. I think we got in contact with just about every one of the visitors of that were significant from this past weekend. So obviously with a road game, we're not going to touch base with any visitors because there are none. So, going into next week, we got football and basketball heating up here. This is probably our busiest time of year with football, basketball. Recruiting obviously is every day, every week, every hour, it seems like. So that'll continue. And, 2 sports going on recruiting. And like you said, Jake, signing day coming up. Wisconsin's trying to close out on a handful of targets to finish this 2022 class, and then there's some more who popped on the radar late, which is always something that happens later in the process as scholarships open up. So stay with us until the final stretch here, until I think it's December 16th signing day, and then obviously beyond that as we turn our focus to 2023. So plenty of stuff on the site. We'd love to have this new YouTube audience take a look at the site, and hopefully we can earn your business.
Absolutely. Where you can find us, of course, BadgerBlitz.com, Wisconsin.rivals.com for the websites. Subscribe to this YouTube page. I know if y'all are watching on your phones, there's that thumbs up button. There's a subscribe button underneath there. Make that happen, please. It helps us bump up more, but also take a look at our site. Follow us on Twitter. For John, it's at McNamara Rivals. For me, at JCoco. At Badger_Blitz is the site Twitter profile there. And then like us on Facebook. Search Wisconsin Badgers on BadgerBlitz.com and take a look as we post all our articles and features, interviews up on our Facebook page as well. So for John McNamara, I'm Jake Kocorowski. Everyone have a great weekend. We'll come back. We got a lot coming up this weekend. You're going to see videos, some interviews with Isaiah Loudermilk, former Badger. That'll be up on Sunday morning. We have another recruiting interview with wide receiver Tommy McIntosh, the 2022 commit. We'll have that up this weekend too later on. So a lot of fun going forward. Guys, have a great start to the weekend. We'll talk to you soon.